tell us why Palantir now are taking the Mayor and the Mayor's office to court?
Well, firstly, this is not a decision that we've taken lightly, and it's one that we take, frankly, quite reluctantly. We have asked for clarifications from the Mayor's office as to why this decision was taken. Why did they veto the contract? As you mentioned, there has been briefings from the Mayor's office that the reason for this was values, that Palantir's values were misaligned with those of London. And we think that's a very concerning development for lots of reasons, which I'm very happy to go into. But the key thing here is, as you heard directly from the Commissioner, the impact of this will be up to 700 fewer officers on the front line policing in London.
We do actually have that grab now, so why don't we slightly change the order of things? But let's listen to what Sir Mark Rowley told us 10 days ago.
Now that's been blocked, we're going to be taking sort of between 500 and 700 officers out of frontline services equivalent. That will have an effect on the streets of London. That's why we're trying to do a sort of rapid tech procurement to make a difference for Londoners.
Will it make London less safe? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're going to be smaller at the end of the year, so it'll be less safe at the end of the year than it was otherwise have been.
Can I just pick up on the reasons you say that the Mayor's blocked this? Because you kind of allude to it being about the company's values, but a spokesperson for the Mayor of London said the Mayor fully supports the Met using modern technology to drive efficiencies and improve the performance of the police. However, as with all procurement, we must always ensure the correct processes are followed and that Londoners get value for money. They're focusing it on suggesting that the procurement process wasn't fair.
Yes, and that's where we've sought clarifications from them. So what is it about the procurement process that they believe was not done correctly? And that's where they have been, so far, I'm afraid, uncooperative and opaque. And as you heard from the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, he doesn't believe that his organisation undertook that process incorrectly. So that's why we've been left with no avenue but, I'm afraid, the courts.
The Mayor's also said that your service doesn't offer value for money. What's your response to that?
Well, again, I would go to the Metropolitan Police Commissioner's comments, where very clearly he has explained that he believes the only way he can get within the budget envelope that he's been set by the Mayor this year is by making those efficiencies in the back office, which will allow him to deploy more staff to the front line. That's what we were going to help him do. Is
it a sort of short-sighted view that a contract that is £50 million per year can't yield a positive return on investment for the Met Police?
Well, I think those are questions you'd have to address to the Mayor. I think, as you're implying, that's absolutely false. I think AI is going to drive extraordinary efficiencies for all kinds of administrative work, particularly in the police. And this is also proven. We have been working with the Metropolitan Police for the last 6 months or so, specifically on their professional standards. So you could think of that as the team that do the line of duty work, like the television show, so investigating Metropolitan Police officers.
This is a different area.
This was the pilot work that we have undertaken with the Met over the last 6 months was specifically on that kind of investigation. So not crime more broadly in London, just that which is inside the Met. We do work, though, with a dozen other police forces around Britain on that broader crime, so domestic abuse, serious organised crime and the like.
And is it your expectation now that there'll be no further Met and Palantir relationships going forward?
That is my concern. We're still waiting to find out whether that professional standards work, so the investigating of Metropolitan Police officers, can continue. We've been expecting a decision on that for a number of days now, and it's still not forthcoming.
Let's touch on the NHS as well, because there have been further questions, even though your work with them goes back to 2023. It's been running longer. There have been more recent questions over the procurement process then as well. What's your response to those questions?
Well, the NHS ran the most open and competitive process that it's actually possible to run under UK government procurement law to award the Federated Data Platform contract, which is the work we performed for the NHS. That was a process that lasted almost 18 months. Every tech company you can probably name was a bidder. It was whittled down over 4 stages with 30 independent assessors, and we came out the winner on our merits.
In terms of the performance thus far, are you pleased with the performance in the NHS?
Yes, I think it's extremely strong. As you may have heard, the Minister explained to the Health Select Committee last week, it's performing ahead of all of the targets, and it's also the only green-rated major infrastructure programme in technology that the Department of Health has, which is the highest rating the government can give.
Is it more focus the positive numbers in just a select number of trusts. Is that a fair point?
So the rollout is ongoing. So we have, I think, 139 trusts are now live with the software. And then depending on the product, not all of them are using each product within the suite that the Federated Data Platform offers. So some are using it, some aren't. Some are using it very effectively. Some there's still work to do. But I think that's normal in a program of this scale.
What happens with all the data that you gather? I mean, this is a broader question for the AI industry as a whole. As you feed off data, you improve your models, you improve your performance and the software and AI that you can offer people. You benefit from the data you're gathering from the NHS?
We don't. And I think that's a really important clarification to provide people with. We're not like certain other tech companies where what you're describing is the case. In our case, we don't have access to the data. The data remains entirely under the control and ownership of the NHS. They're simply using our software to process their own data, but Palantir does not have access to it.
Does the patient benefit from their data being used?
I think very materially, yes. And as an example, the NHS has been able to conduct 110,000 operations using the software that would not otherwise have happened. So that's 110,000 people up and down the country who've had their knee or hip replaced, which would not otherwise have happened. And just in terms of scale, that's the equivalent of roughly 2 entire hospital trusts worth of operations per year.
Clearly, there's been quite a lot of pushback, particularly, in fact, from employees within the health service as well, of not wanting to partner with Palantir. I think a lot of it comes back to the work you do with the Defence Department, particularly the US Defence Department. Can you understand why people who work in health don't particularly want to partner with a company that helps deliver death?
Well, I would challenge that characterization that there's a lot of pushback. I think there is a minority who are noisy, but in an organization that employs 1.5 million people, as the NHS does, I think you would be very surprised not to discover the full range of views about every conceivable topic. But I think actually if you were to go and ask the tens of thousands of NHS workers who are using our software every day, whether it makes a difference, they would say a resounding yes. It's helping them treat more patients faster and more efficiently than they would otherwise. And I think that's their primary objective.
Okay, but you must acknowledge there's a lot of pushback across the country because of the work you also do in defence about your company being used in other areas. Can you understand those concerns? I mean, look, it's different. I get that you are a tech company, an AI company trying to deliver efficiencies in multiple areas, but it is quite rare to see an industry like health partnering with a firm that is so big in defence. Can you understand the pushback there?
Well, so again, I think most people are concerned with a healthcare system that works. That's what they want. They want their operations delivered on time and efficiently. And the fact that we may work also in defence is not the primary issue.
But I think it is for a lot of people. You can say it might be the wrong issue and that you're maybe delivering on your remit, which is to drive efficiencies and deliver value for money. But it is a big issue for a lot of people.
Perhaps. That's not been my experience. I found that for most people, they want our NHS to work. They want our armed forces to be as effective as they possibly can. The fact that we work with both doesn't preclude working with the other. That there isn't a contradiction there. We're helping public services, whatever form they may be the best version they can be of themselves.
Can you understand a different pushback on US tech dominance? I mean, it's really interesting just last week that there's been a clampdown by the US government on Anthropic's technology being used by foreign countries because it's so powerful. Could that not happen in the years ahead? The US government saying to Palantir, we also don't want you to be using your technologies in foreign countries, even if they're friends, and that we have a problem here by building up a reliance on your services?
No, I think that is more of an issue. And I think the experience that we've all had with Anthropic over the past week and the withdrawal of Fable should be a canary in the coal mine for this, that the dependence on technology, which is going to be essential to our public services, essential, frankly, to our economies and our way of life, is going to become, already is arguably, a critical supply chain risk. And the government should be thinking very hard about how to secure that sovereign capability. I don't believe that means that companies like Palantir need to be domestic champions. You don't need to rebuild British versions, but you do need safeguards and you need assurances. And the government has a long history of managing those kinds of dependencies. I guess the nuclear industry would be a good example.
And do you think that it's plausible in the foreseeable future that the UK could build its own domestic champions?
So I think in some areas of the tech stack, the emerging AI tech stack, definitely. The UK is really the only country, I think, outside of the United States and China that has the quality and quantity of engineering talent that would be required to do that. Now, I don't think that means that the UK should try and build every single layer of the stack in an indigenous champion way, so its own operating system, its own large language models, its own chip manufacturers. But there are definitely talented individuals in this country who could build world-leading companies in those areas.
And just to be clear, if tomorrow the President of the United States said to Palantir, stop using your technologies in foreign countries, you would adhere to that?
No, that couldn't be done. That would be a breach of contracts. It would be a breach of the law. It's not possible for Donald Trump to do that.
But how is it possible for him to do it with Anthropic, but not with Palantir?
Because that model had only just been released. So it's a new technology. Palantir is currently contracted to the NHS. The NHS controls its instance of Palantir software. Palantir can't withdraw that from the NHS. It can't withdraw that from the Ministry of Defence. They control and own their versions of Palantir software.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how things would react if Donald Trump did try that. Just finally, Andy Burnham has been a critic of Palantir, as obviously have some other members well, he's now a member of the House of Commons, as a member of the House of Commons. Do you worry you're going to have to go through these processes again as things are going to get harder for you going forward?
No, I think that the Labour Party and whoever is Prime Minister, remains Prime Minister, is going to be wholly focused on delivering good public services for people up and down the country. And we are going to be an essential part of helping them do that.